Hello! Hi, it is Meredith. Welcome back for Vlogmas Day 12. And today is probably the video I'm most excited about. I think that this one is going to be so much fun. It's probably going to be super long, so thank you so much for sticking around for this video. So basically I just asked a bunch of people whose channels I enjoy watching, my friends, you know, people that I talk to, just like a bunch of people on Booktube that I really like, and asked, hey, would you like to send through a clip for this video recommending a random Mars book?
That's not roasting.
I got so many responses back saying yes. I don't think anybody said no. The response was huge. So that's why I've got so many people here, because there's just so many people that love books and love being a part of the community. And I hope I've got a range of people here, channels you've never heard of before, a variety of books. I just wanted this to be like a fun little place for Christmas for us to just celebrate a bunch of booktubers, you know, for you to get to find a bunch of new booktubers and just hear about what a bunch of people have been reading this year. And getting a bunch of recommendations. So yeah, I just said recommend a random book you enjoyed this year. That was like all I said. So I'm really excited to see how people twist this, how they interpret it. I'm really excited. So yeah, I really hope that you enjoy hearing from a bunch of these booktubers. Everybody will be linked down below. There is a lot of people here. So I really hope that you give everybody a check out. They're all channels I personally really enjoy, and people that I think are lovely, and I think we should celebrate the amazing community we have here. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy hearing from a bunch of new people that you may not have ever, you know, heard of before or seen before, and learning about a bunch of books. So yeah, let's get on to it.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha, and the name of my channel is That Other Nigerian Girl. I mostly just post book reviews, wrap-ups, and I often do vlogs as well. So today Meredith has asked me to talk about my favorite book of 2022, and as you know, this is always going to be difficult. Selecting one book from like all the books that you've read is always going to be difficult. So I have selected this book called The Mountains Sing by Ngoy Phan Quet Mai. So this book is set in the backdrop of the Vietnamese War, and it is a multi-generational tale of a family called Tran. The Tran family, if I'm not mistaken. Our two main characters are, I can't pronounce her name, but we have two main characters, a young girl and a grandmother. The story just follows our grandmother narrating, you know, how the Vietnamese War came to be, all the multiple wars that, you know, she had witnessed, and how it affected our life and the lives of our family and family members, leading up onto our granddaughter, who she's narrating the story to. One of the major reasons why I love this book is that it takes you through so many different emotions. Like when you know that a book is set in the backdrop of a very devastating war, you expect that it's going to be sad throughout the book, because you know that's the sad reality of life. But one major thing that I like about this book is that it takes you through so many different emotions. Like you even have a very cute love story that is, you know, bubbling around in the book, because you know it's a story, it's a multi-generational tale of a family, and naturally, you know, some of the members of the family fell in love, gave birth to children, and life continues even though there's war, because people would always hold on to the hope that things will be better. And I really appreciate that about this book, that it takes me through all these different emotions. I was swooning, I was crying, naturally I shed a lot of tears, I was laughing, I was very sad, I was angry at so many like atrocities that were committed, and more importantly I learned a lot about the history of Vietnam. And I appreciate that the author gave nuance to it, because this book draws inspiration from our own family stories, and we can kind of see that with some of the characters in the book, because at the end of the day, some of the family line kind of like links to America, because some of them moved to America, and we see how that connects to the story of the author herself. So yeah, this is my favorite book of the year. I have read so many beautiful, brilliant books this year, but I still come back to this one, even though I read it in March. And I believe that this is a book that everyone should read. Try to get your hands on this book and read it. You learn a lot from it. It's very, you know, balanced paced book. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. It gives you enough time to marinate in the story, and I really appreciate that about it. Thank you, Meredith, for giving me this platform to rant about my favorite book of the year and to share it with your audience. Bye.
Hey Meredith, it's Ren, and I'm here to recommend you some books. Now you only asked for one recommendation, but I don't like making decisions, so you're gonna get two. The first book I'm going to recommend you is queer, because, hi. And it is a YA fake dating, coming of age, paranormal story. Don't let those words scare you away. It's really well written and the romance is so cute. It's easy to follow along and the queer rep is great. And that book is Out of the Blue by Jason June. I randomly picked this up a couple months ago and it's definitely one of my favorite books of the year. It has merfolk and all of like the merfolk in general are non-binary. And they have this coming of age ceremony ritual thing where they have to go on land for a month and help a human in some way before they can return to the sea and then continue on to be an elder of their clan. And this particular merfolk that comes on shore, they help this lifeguard kind of get back at his ex. His ex just dumped him for like no real reason and he's really upset about it, so he enters into this fake dating plan with this merfolk to get the ex-boyfriend jealous. And of course, it being a fake dating, they fall for each other, which is just, it's really, really sweet the way it happens. Their relationship is honestly beautiful. And as a non-binary person, the casual acceptance of our non-binary main character was amazing. It just, it was handled so well. And there's some really great conversations around gender in this book and it was all handled so well. So if you want to read that, highly recommend. But the other book I chose was a thriller that I read this year. It's an adult thriller and once again, picked it up randomly and loved it. I've been obsessed with it ever since I read it, have not been able to get it out of my head. And that is The Resting Place by Camilla Sten. This is an isolated thriller, I guess you could call it. So we have our main character who has facial blindness and her maternal figure in her life is murdered and she witnesses the murderer leaving the crime scene, but because of her facial blindness, she doesn't know who this person is and she can't describe them. So that is kind of lingering over her head, scary times. And then she has to go to a family estate to help, you know, pack up things, deal with all the lawyery stuff that you have to deal with. And while there, she gets snowed in to the place with a few other people helping her. And then, of course, shenanigans ensue. Maybe they're not the only people there, you know, people get hurt. And it's all just them being stuck together and creepy vibes, and it's so good. You already know I love tension, and this book has such good tension in it. It is also a dual timeline, which I usually hate, like with a passion, but I really liked it in this book. Don't ask me how, it was just the writing was so good that I loved it. Anyways, those are the two books that I'm going to recommend you. Hope you choose one of them. If you do, happy reading. Bye.
Hi Meredith, thanks so much for including me in your video. For those of you who don't know, my name is Lauren. I also go by Lo, and my channel on Booktube is called Literally Lo, and I make all sorts of bookish content. My recommendation for you is a book that I read early this year and have not stopped talking about ever since, so you might know which book I'm going to recommend. But that book is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I read this as an ARC and fell head over heels for it. It's got kind of a mystery aspect. It's got a lot of twists and turns. It's got really short chapters, which makes it very, very easy to get through quickly. And I just absolutely loved it. I don't think enough people are reading this book, so I would love to see you read it and hear your thoughts on it. Of course, there's a plane. I would love to see you read it and hear your thoughts on it. I just thought it was absolutely phenomenal. 5 out of 5 for me. This book follows two estranged siblings who come together again following the death of their mother. And before they're allowed to kind of take care of her estate and her will, they're told by their mother's lawyer that they have to listen to this audio recording. And the audio recording is essentially their mother telling them the story of her life. And they find out that they didn't really know their mother at all. So that is what I'll tell you. It was phenomenal. This is a debut novel. I just think it needs more hype. So I hope you enjoy it.
Hey everyone, and happy Vlogmas. I want to start off my video by saying thank you to Meredith from Reading with Merv for inviting me and including me in the series. My name is Tatiana. My channel or Booktube is called Reading with Tatiana. And I started my Booktube at the beginning of this year in 2022 because in 2021 I started reading for fun as an adult. I really enjoyed it. I finished the year with 73 books, and I kind of thought about how one thing I really enjoyed about reading as a kid was writing book reports in school. And then during 2021, I also discovered the world of Booktube, which I can't believe how expansive it is. And I wanted to share the books I've been reading to this community. So my channel is full of full-length book reviews. I do monthly wrap-ups, and sometimes I'll sprinkle in Booktube tags for fun, just so you know I can engage with the community. One thing that has been really surprising for me on Booktube, even though I'm still a very small channel, is the amount of support and the amount of interaction. And I can definitely see like it's very easy to get really involved in the community if you wanted to, and I think it's a great network to connect with people from all over. I wish I had more time to engage in a community, but I don't. But I do want to say that if you subscribe to me and you do comment on my videos, I really appreciate it, because there's nothing better than logging in and seeing comments and discussion on books I've read with people online. There's still some time left in 2022, so maybe my recommendation will change. But as of today, my recommendation for 2022 on a book to not sleep on is A Beast of a Little Lamb by Jae Kim. It was published in 2021. It is her debut novel, and the genre is historical fiction, a sprinkle of romance in it, or maybe a lot of romance in it. No, I would say a sprinkle. And this book is just so beautiful. If you love pachinko, you will love this book. This book is set in Korea, and it spans several decades, multi-generation. It starts from 1918 up to Korea's independence in 1945 and goes a bit past 1960s. I did compare it to pachinko, but it's slightly different, because if I remember correctly, pachinko was about Korean characters but more set in Japan, whereas this one is fully set in Korea and the effect of the Japanese colonialism on Korea. In addition to being set in Korea, I want to specify, because it's leading up to the independence, there is obviously like the joint Korea before independence, but also as we progress, it's set in North and South Korea. So a bit of Japan, and also set in Shanghai. So this book just spans this huge region in Asia. It also spans so many different societal classes and so many different, like, I guess, jobs in society, like military, everyday people. Also, these women who are kind of like escorts in Korea. I forgot what the word is now exactly, but it's just a great story. I also want to share the common themes it covers. It really talks about what goes around comes around, and you know, with multi-generational books, I just love how all these paths will like expand in the beginning, and it all kind of converge into fruition of a plot point in a book, and it's just so great. I also want to share some quotes in this book that really stuck with me. So the first one is, "Death was such a small price to pay for life." I just love that quote, and it's something that I say in my everyday life now, because yeah, death is scary, but it's such a small price to pay for being able to live. So live your life to fullest and just, you know, carpe diem, right? Also, one other quote I want to share is, "Life is only bearable because time makes you forget everything, but life is worthwhile because love makes you remember everything." Yeah, this book just has so many great quotes, and I read it a few months ago, but I definitely can't wait to reread it in the future because when it ended, my heart just broke a little that I wasn't able to follow these characters anymore. Thank you for watching my introduction to my channel and also my recommended book for 2022. If you want to check out my channel, it's called Reading with Tatiana, and I hope to see you guys there. Bye!
Hello Meredith and her friends, this is Rana. You probably don't know who the hell I am, but I am a small booktuber on this platform. I make videos talking about books. I mostly read fantasy, historical fiction and non-fiction books. But we are not here today to talk about me. We are here to recommend Meredith, a book that I have read and loved this year. I'm gonna be honest with you here today, Meredith, but at first I was a little bit hesitant of recommending you any books because I know we share a lot of similar opinions regarding many popular books, but there's that one author that I really hate her books and you love her books, and you know who I'm talking about. You know who is that author. So I was a little bit hesitant that I may recommend you a book that I love and you end up hating. But I picked a book that is well loved by myself and many readers, so I hope you love it too, or at least enjoy it. And if you don't, I'm really sorry. But it is Vicious by Ve Schwab. It is about two young men, Victor and Eli, who used to be college roommates, and they made some type of research/experiment about something called extraordinary in this world, and something went wrong along the way, and it is now 20 years later. Victor and Eli hate each other and Victor wants to kill Eli. We jump back and forth between the present and the past to find out what happened in the past to make Victor hate Eli that much. I read this book, fell in love with it, and it immediately became one of my top 10 books of this year. So that's why I'm recommending it to you, and I really hope that you enjoy it too, Meredith. And if you don't, again, I'm sorry if you don't end up loving it as much, but I really hope that you do. So this is my recommendation for you, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
Hello, I am Amy from Booktube with Amy, and I'm here today to talk to you about one of my favourite books that I have read so far this year. So mine has got to be Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. Amazing. So I'm not going to give spoilers away, but this book is essentially about our main character. And he is a wee bit of a ball in real life. He isn't the nicest of men. He dies, and in the afterlife he goes to this tea shop before he passes over, and we are met with a whole host of characters in this tea shop, and they're there just to try and help him pass over, give him a wee bit of closure, gain a wee bit deeper understanding about his life, and that's basically what the book is about, in this wee tea shop in between realms of the living and the passed over. And this was just so amazing. It's so cute, it's so queer, and the characters are so brilliantly written. But what I loved about this book most is its message. So this book really deals with how you feel about your life and the type of person that you choose to be, and really just hammers home the impact of your actions, which I really enjoyed. It's never too late to change, and you know, the way that you act affects so many other people in life, and the way you choose to treat people will also have a knock-on impact on them. And if you can choose to be kind, then always be kind. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it was so meaningful and so positive and so hopeful. And this also really deals heavily with the impact of grief. And not just the grief of other people around you having lost you, but like our main character grieves for the life he had and the life he wishes he had. And that was a really interesting perspective that I haven't seen a lot before in books, but it just deals with grief in general. And this book came around at a time for me where I really needed that. Last year I lost my mother-in-law, and that was so difficult. We were very close, we had a great relationship, and it was very out of the blue. Completely and utterly unexpected, and I read this book at the beginning of this year when all of that was still sort of fresh, and it was just really lovely to have a book that was so hopeful and so positive, and it really made me reflect a lot on myself as a person and on how I choose to deal with my grief and how I will choose to deal with that going forward. And so the book just really has a special place in my heart because of that. I think that if you have lost somebody close to you, friend, family member, pet, then definitely pick up this book. I think it'll do you wonders. And me and Simon's mum read a lot of the same books. We had very similar reading tastes. We were always swapping and recommending each other books, and I actually think that this is a book that she would have loved. And the entire time I was reading this, it just was making me really think of her as well, because it was just so brilliant and so hopeful, and she was just like a total wee ball of positivity, and this book just gave me so much. It was fantastic. I think that if you are not a big fantasy reader, then this isn't too far away from the realm of possibility that you would maybe still enjoy it. You know, if you are a big literary fiction reader, then this is something that you might still enjoy. I think it could be classed as whimsical more than a fantasy, but the characters in here are brilliant. There's some really strong friendships. There's a lot about growth and personal development, and I just thought it was an absolutely fantastic read. It had me bawling my eyes out at parts, both with sadness and, you know, grief for these characters and my own grief, but then also with pure hopeful elation at what I could be after having read this book. It is just one of the best books I've read this year, and I think it would be a really hard feat to top it. I just love TJ Klune. His writing is just so beautifully done, and I feel like every single character he has created are now one of my friends. So please read Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune if you haven't already. It was fantastic.
Hey Meredith and Meredith's channel. My name is Sam. You can find me over on my bookish and lifestyle YouTube channel over at Samantha Donovan, where I post 3 or 4 times a week, mostly themed reading vlogs or just weekly reading vlogs, as well as other bookish content. But I just need to talk about my potential favorite book of the year, All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I could not put this book down when I picked it up. I did not want to stop reading this, and when I finished binging it in less than 24 hours, I might add, I had to think about it constantly, talk about it far too much, and still have yet to pick up the second book, but I'm so eager to do it. I thought that the writing was very compelling, the world building, the magic system I absolutely adored. It is a little bit more on the YA side, but overall I just think it was very well done. It was super enjoyable, just a very quick, fast-paced read where you're very involved with what's going on. It just, there's some twists, there's some turns. I hope you get a chance to read this. I hope you enjoy it at least a little bit, and happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Nicole and I'm from Dusty Book Sniffers, and Meredith has asked me to give you a book recommendation, something that I have liked or that has impacted me. So I'd just like to say thank you, Meredith, for the invitation to join you and other fellow booktubers in giving some recommendations for the people that watch your channel. So this was a tough challenge for me to pick a book that I would recommend to people to either give as a gift or to just read themselves. And so I really have struggled with this, and I have been pondering it. Was I going to go with fiction? Was I going to go with non-fiction? And if you've been to my channel, you will know that I'm quite a prolific reader and I read across many different genres. So it was a tricky one for me. But I finally decided to go with a non-fiction book. And the reason being is because I think this book has made the biggest impact on my life, and maybe it might make an impact on your life too. So the book that I'm talking about is A Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, and some of you might know who might not know who Shonda Rhimes is. She writes for Grey's Anatomy and a few other. I think she's got three TV shows that she's written. I think The Practice was another one. So so I picked this up. I actually got this in a book grocer box here in Australia. We have a company here that has these boxes. They're usually between 100 and 150, and you get a whole heap of books in it, and this was in one of the boxes. So when I read it, seen it, I'm like, maybe I should give this a read. I wasn't too sure because I'm not a big non-fiction fan, and at the time I was going through some stuff in my life, so I thought, why not, I'll pick it up. So the premise behind the book is A Year of Yes. So Shonda was finding she was talking with her sisters, and one of her sisters asked her something, and the other sister said, oh, she won't do it, she always says no. And that got Shonda to thinking that maybe she should look at her life and be more positive and say yes to things. So she started saying yes to things. So yes to going to red carpet events, to interviews, and all sorts of stuff. And it just tells the story of how her life opened up for her. And so for me, it was impactful because I find myself saying no a lot. And I say no to social engagements because it makes me feel uncomfortable. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do what she's done, and I'm going to do A Year of Yes. And basically, I read this at the beginning of last year, and I had done A Year of Yes, and I'm still doing saying yes more often than not. I had a couple of premises though. I was saying yes, but sometimes I couldn't do it immediately. So I would say, yes, I can do that, but I can't do it till then. So I'd sort of change things around. And of course, I wouldn't say yes to anything that made me feel extremely uncomfortable or was putting me in a situation that was going to make me feel very uncomfortable. So, you know, baby steps, as they say. But I absolutely devoured this book in one sitting, and I highly recommend it to people that feel that they're a little bit negative or they say no all the time, because you know what I mean. You hear yourself say no, and you think sometimes maybe I should have said yes, and I wouldn't have missed out on that. And this book can really help you set those habits of saying yes. So I was going through some marriage difficulties at the time, and also some grief of my granddaughter going back, and I am very much a person when I go through that I withdraw to myself. And one of the complaints that my husband had was that I never do anything with him anymore, or I'm always saying no. So this book came along at a very opportune time and really helped, and I started saying yes, and I started saying yes to the things that he wanted to do. Even though I wasn't interested in them, I still done it to spend time with him. And I think we all get into those habits. But anyway, I'm waffling on, and I probably shouldn't, because I'm sure that there's many other people that have got something to say. So if you are looking for a book that is going to have an impact on your life, I highly recommend Shonda Rhimes' A Year of Yes. Thank you so much again, Meredith, for letting me join in the fun of this, and I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully I'll see some of you over on my channel, Dusty Book Sniffers. But that's it from me today. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all again next time.
Hi, my name is Freddie, and I'm from Sluggish Reader, and I would like to recommend this novel. It's called Sarong Party Girls, and it is written by Cheryl Lulian Tan. So central to this novel is a young woman who lives in Singapore. She's a Chinese Singaporean woman named Jaslyn or Jazzy, and her main goal in this book is pretty much to find a rich white man and hopefully get married to him so that she can hopefully rise up the social ladder. And yeah, that might sound really ridiculous, but the reason why I really love this book is because it paints a certain phenomenon that I feel is quite ubiquitous in certain parts of Southeast Asia, and that is white worshipping, which is kind of like where people would think whiteness is an inherently positive and good quality, and they would associate whiteness or being white to everything that is good, luxurious, prestigious, all of those things. And the other side of the same coin, we also have the idea of self-loathing towards one's own cultural origin being explored in this book as well. And I feel that those two sides are really written and integrated well with the character of Jaslyn in this book. So I would say this book is not something that that I would consider as a cozy read, a comfy read. First of all, it is written entirely in Singaporean English, so I would say because of it being written that way, it sort of lends this kind of really different flavor to the prose, and it makes the book feel very immersive. And at the same time, we also have a character who is, I would say, someone who is very reprehensible regarding her attitudes towards people. Jaslyn is someone who, based on what I just mentioned about her aspiration in life, she is someone who is obviously quite racist, and she can also be quite sexist, and she is also very classist in this book, and she also displays other kinds of prejudice as well. So reading this book, you do not expect Jaslyn, the protagonist, to be someone who is a likable character, but overall I would say that this entire book, it portrays this concept of white worshipping in this really honest and unabashed way that makes it feel real, but at the same time the entire book is also written with this exaggeration in mind, where most of the characters, not only the protagonist, can seem quite unlikable and sleazy as well. So it sort of lends this novel this kind of absurd and maybe a little bit of slapstick effect as well. And I would say the author has done really good job in writing this story and making it feel different in a way that is quite masterful. So I highly recommend Sarong Party Girls. Yeah, I really love this, and I hope that if you ever get hold of this book, you would enjoy it as well. This is certainly something that you can read and dig really deeply into, and yeah, I hope you'll enjoy this book if you ever get to this. So bye.
Hey guys, my name is Natasha from The Book Basket. How are you all doing? So today I'm talking about my ultimate favorite book of 2022, and it's called Emberwood by Erin McQuand. This is a debut novel. She released the book in October. So let me just delve right into telling you what this book is about. So basically, this is the first book in the Witches of Freya series. I'm not sure how many books there are going to be in the series. And it follows a magic system. And in this world, magic has been considered a gift, among others, for many moons, until it was considered a curse. And then we get our heroine, Phoebe Emberwood, who has been blessed with fire and water magic. Because magic has been seen as a curse for so many years, she doesn't want to, declare her magic to the world. She wants to keep it hidden until a series of unfortunate events.
Hello, 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 children.
And she unfortunately has to reveal her magic to the town, who are up in arms. And unfortunately, along the way of trying to prove herself to the town, she is captured by the dark forces, who she always believed were dead or were gone. Slowly, as more secrets are being revealed via the bad guys, Phoebe starts to consider who really is the bad guys and what really is going on in her town. And she slowly has to come to terms with the fact that not everything she has been taught by her parents were actually true. Apparently this book is on the line of those who love Kingdom of the Wicked. I also considered it to be a good book of those who like the Akoto series, as well as any book of Sarah J. Maas. It is really fast-paced. The magic system is so easy to understand that you're not sitting there scratching your head every 2 seconds thinking, but how? How is this even possible? And there's banter, it's fast-paced, it's steamy, you've got a morally grey character in there, and it's just all around a good time. So, go check it out.
Hello everyone and subscribers of Meredith. I am Kayla from Kayla's Reads and WAPs, and over on my channel I talk about a variety of books, but today Meredith invited me to talk about one book that I recommend. So of course I said yes, and then after I said yes, I was like, oh my god, why did I do that? Every book that I have read has been a book that everybody has read, or was a book that I don't want to recommend. You see, I am a new avid reader, which means this year I've read a lot of books that just haven't been for me. But it has been established. It's been established and it's been confirmed that I do like nonfiction books. So today I'm going to recommend a nonfiction book. My most read nonfiction is memoirs, but I will not be recommending a memoir today. Instead, I will be recommending Mikki Kendall's Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot. Now I'm gonna look at my notes to make sure like I get this information right and, you know, don't have to film it a bunch of times. But Hood Feminism mainly talks about and argues that the conversations of mainstream feminism and mainstream feminists don't include everything that any woman could face. Basic needs being met, for example. Not every woman has the ability to provide for themselves or the opportunity to educate themselves. So why isn't that a constant conversation in the feminism community? Is it because the women who can't do those things themselves are minorities? So is that a race issue? Is it an ignorance issue? Etc., etc. That's what this book explores, and it serves a lot of food for thought. I know a lot of people consider themselves feminists. So this is why I thought I would recommend this book, because as someone who never got on the mainstream feminism train, this was my, you know, first introduction to really the world of feminism. And I know a lot of people like to read like feminist literature and the classics and stuff, and I just think this is just a really good companion piece, because it really does, like I said, it serves food for thought, and it just, I don't know, it will put some things in perspective. And I feel like maybe you might ask yourself if you yourself can call yourself a feminist, if you are not fighting for, you know, those things that any woman can go through, you know, not being able to feed themselves, support themselves, educate themselves, you know, living in safe communities, etc., etc. And you can ask yourself if, you know, you've ever thought of those things, or, you know, if you haven't, and stuff like that. So it's a great thing for like conversation and a great thing to think on. So yeah, I think it's a great recommendation for anyone and everyone, but especially those who say they are feminists. Thanks again, Meredith, for having me. I hope everyone watching this is having a great holiday season, and I hope to see you again sometime. Bye.
Hi, my name is Sasha. You can find me over at the channel Sash Reads. I am 27. I live in Queensland with my husband and our 3 children, and I like to read books. I have read over 100 books this year, which is very out of the norm for me. My favorite genre is fantasy romance. I've found that this year, well, I've always read fantasy and I've liked the romance aspect to it, and I've always preferred the fantasy romance books when they were just called fantasy, but now it's got like an own genre and it's just blown up. Anyway, so like I like fantasy romance, I also like fantasy, I also like romance books. I like to dabble in a lot of different genres, but today Merb has asked me to talk about my favorite book of the year, or one of the favorite books that I've read this year, and I'm going to talk about Second Star to the Left by Megan Van Dyke. I read this back in March because the author kindly sent me an e-arc and I fell in love. I was not expecting to go into this and falling in love, but I did. So this is a Peter Pan reimagining, and it focuses on Tinkerbell, who's been banished from her homeland for selling the hottest drug in Neverland, and that is pixie dust. And so Tink wants to get back to her homeland and get back to her family. And so to do that, she enlists the help of the Mermaid Queen. And the Mermaid Queen goes, look, I can help you, but I need you to steal something back that was stolen from me first. So Tink goes and seduces Captain Hook
to try and steal back the Mermaid Queen's gems. And so Hook doesn't realize he's being seduced, and so once he finds out that she bamboozled him, he's like wants redemption because he is seeing her everywhere. He wants to get out of this curse that she has put on him. He tracks down Tinkerbell again to remove the curse, and she can't. So they both go to the Mermaid Queen together, and the Mermaid Queen goes, look, I can help both of you if you go and steal another magical item for me. It goes from there. And I absolutely love the romance between Hook and Tinkerbell, and this just started my love for Peter Pan reimaginings. I've read a couple more this year. Hook is just, he's so sexy. I love how like you read some heroes and you're like, I don't see it, but with Hook I definitely see it. And I loved how Megan Van Dyke also brought in like the Tinkerbell movies, like without Peter Pan. So when Tink was like, she's a Tinker Fairy from like, you know, all those movies. It's like origin stories for Tinkerbell and all the fairies and stuff. And so bringing those aspects into the book too, I really enjoyed that. And she also does bring Peter and the Lost Boys into the book as well, although not the way that you would think. And yes, I really loved all the characters and how it paid homage to the original movie. Definitely love this book, and I really think that everyone should pick it up. I really wish more people would talk about this more, would read more of it, so I can talk to more people about it. So Meredith, this is the book that I've chosen to talk about. I hope this is to your liking. But yeah, thank you so much for asking me to do this, and I hope your Vlogmas goes really well.
Hi everyone, my name is Elise. My channel is Books and Taping, and today I'm here to talk about a book that I really enjoyed reading in 2022. So I actually matched my outfit to the book itself, and before I show you the book, I just wanted to share how amazing it is that I'm actually like holding the book in my hands, because I got this book yesterday. I wasn't planning for it, but it just kind of happened. So I'm still like so excited because I actually have this book in my hands, and it's one of my favorites of 2022. The book is actually Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Sujimura, translated by Philip Gabriel. This was one of the first books that I read in 2022. I read this in January, and it was from a recommendation by a friend on Bookstagram. And at the time when I was reading it, I think I wasn't really enjoying any of the books that I had been reading prior to this one, so I wasn't really expecting much from this until I started reading it, and then I got really hooked in. And it was just a very good reading experience, because you know that feeling when you are really enjoying a book and you know that it's going to be very highly rated from you, and you're just enjoying the journey so much. Yeah, I got that feeling basically. Okay, so let me tell you what Lonely Castle in the Mirror is about. I will be referencing my review that I made on my Goodreads as well as my book blog, so I'll be looking at my phone because it's been quite long since I've read this book. As always, when I review books, I start with trigger warnings first. So trigger warnings for bullying, abuse, attempted sexual harm, depressing thoughts, neglect, and terminal illness. In this book, we start off by following Kokoro, a student who does not go to school, and one day the mirror in her room glows, and upon touching it, she finds herself transported into a castle. In the castle, she finds 6 other children, and they are told that a key has been hidden in the castle, and whoever finds the key can make a wish. That's like a very brief synopsis of the book. Basically, the themes are fantasy, magical realism, contemporary. This book really took me on a whole journey. As I got deeper into the story, I found myself falling in love with the characters and how they form relationships with one another, as well as discovering the reason behind why each of them do not want to go to school. And I also found that the premise of getting a wish after you find the key really interesting to read about as well. When I read translated fiction, I generally feel quite scared because I am not sure whether I'll enjoy the book, because the writing may not be as good as when you read the book from the original language, so you may feel that there's a disconnect between the writing of the translated book and what you think the author is trying to say in a sense. But I really didn't feel that when I was reading Lonely Castle in the Mirror at all, so I felt that the writing was really beautiful. And going back to why I said that this book took me on a journey, so we started off with me not really feeling any of the books I was reading, right? Then after that I started reading the first few pages and I got intrigued, and then this book had so many twists and turns that I wasn't even expecting. Apparently I guessed one of them based on my review, but it wasn't the main twist. And in the last few pages I actually cried because of a certain review, and I don't normally cry in a lot of books, so I also found it like really amazing that this book managed to make me emotional. Another thing that I don't really enjoy reading about in books is actually magical realism, and this book has magical realism, but I still really enjoyed it a lot. So this book really like challenged all the things that I don't really like reading about in books and made it into such a beautiful story, which was why it's one of my favorites as well. And I found it really amazing how the author had managed to delve into so many different serious topics and yet make the story so heartwarming and full of hope and lessons at the same time. And I also mentioned that this is a book that made me want to reread it, even though I, at that point in time, haven't finished reading it yet, because it was so complex and well thought through that I felt that a reread will let me understand the story from a different perspective and still enjoy it. And I also mentioned how I hope that I would be able to get my hands on a physical copy one day, because I would want to reread it and tab it, annotate it, and so on and so forth. And I actually have it now. So yeah, okay, I'm just very excited to have this in my hands and to share this book with you guys, and hopefully it might make you want to read this for yourself. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess that's the end of this clip from me, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much to Meredith for coming up with this super cool idea, and I'm super excited to watch other booktubers talk about a book that they really enjoyed reading this year as well. And to everybody that's watching, I hope that your reading journey this year has been great and we all get to read a few more books before this year ends. And yeah, that's all from me.
Hi, it's Zoe from Book Reviews with Zoe, and I was invited by Reading with Merb to do a book recommendation of a book that I absolutely loved reading from 2022 that I think Merb will actually like. So I'm going to go with a book that I recently read in the last couple of months. Is The Wisteria Society of Ladies Scandals by India Holton. The reason why I think Merb will like this book is I know Merb generally likes to read romance and also historical romance, and this has elements of historical romance and it also has pirates in it, so it sounds like a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's a nice quick read, beautiful cover, and I reckon you'll like this book because it's nice and short and it's silly, a lot of silly fun, and you'll laugh. And it's a good summer read. So I hope if you haven't read it, read it. And if you have, read the sequel.
Hey Mer, thank you so much for including me in this video. My name's Paige from the channel Pages of the Page, and today I want to talk about one of the most favourite books that I've read this year. I have to go with The Gracier by Kim Liggett. So The Gracier is a dystopian fantasy blend where these girls during their Gracier are sent away from their village and having to live very in the wilderness, very Hunger Games-esque, except that they're not intentionally trying to kill one another. There's a magical element to it and really looking at the bonds of female friendship and empowerment, whilst you wouldn't originally think that straight off the bat, and finding your voice and finding the strength to be who you are unapologetically in the face of misogyny. It was such a fascinating read. I was gripped from start to finish, and I cannot articulate the roller coaster of emotions that I went through, and I love it so much. Tyranny, our protagonist, is struggling with the fact that they don't feel like their 16th year when they're sent away, that they feel powerful and magical, even though it's described as this wonderful magical experience, and sort of figuring out how to combat everyday beliefs and a village that is very antiquated in their views.
I really love the tagline. It is forbidden to speak of the Gracier, but even so, every girl knows that the coming year will change them if they survive it. And there's just so many different aspects to it that I absolutely love. This is my recommendation. Crystal from Bomb Book Reviews was the one that actually put this onto my challenge for this year, and the reason I picked it up, and I couldn't be more thankful. I feel like I've read a lot of dystopian fantasy elements based around female empowerment this year, and this was definitely a standout that I loved. So once again, thank you so much, Ware, for including me in this video. I am so excited to be a part, and I can't wait to see what other recommendations the other booktubers have. Thanks, bye!
Hi everyone, I'm Erin, and my YouTube channel is From Erin's Library, and I'm going to share with you my favorite book, which is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. And this follows a young babysitter who is taking care of these 3 very rich children in the middle of these woods, and they all live in a smart house. So there's a lot of like high-tech gadgets and things, and it's very creepy. And we know from the beginning that this nanny is in jail for murder of one of the children. So throughout the whole book, or most of it, you don't know which child dies, you don't know how, and you don't even know if she did it or not. There are a bunch of twists in this book I just did not see coming. And the atmosphere is absolutely perfect. So definitely check it out if you like mysteries and thrillers. And thank you so much.
Hi lovely people, my name is Layla. First and foremost, if you end up hearing any background noises, I'm so sorry. My house is at a constant state of chaos, so just, you know, putting that out there. But anyways, I found it really hard trying to pick a book for Meredith. I don't know why, it was really challenging, but at the end I decided to go with All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I know Meredith enjoys romance, but I'm not quite sure how she feels about slow burn, especially the Mariana Zapata style of slow burn, because they're agonizingly slow. But I also feel like Meredith and I share some similarities in our book taste, so I'm hoping that she ends up liking this. I'm excited to see what she ends up rating it, and also what she has to say about it. All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata is basically like every other book written by her. It's romance, it's slow burn, it's also quite lengthy. Personally, those things don't bother me. I love romance, and additionally, like, you know, romance and slow burn combined together is even better for me. So it's safe to say that I really enjoyed this book. Additionally, Mariana Zapata is one of my favorite romance authors. A lot of her books have been comfort reads for me these past few years. I've reread Cold Tea, Wait for It, From Lukov with Love, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me multiple times, and I enjoy them with every reread. So yeah, anything this woman has to release, I'm gonna read it, and it's almost guaranteed that I'm gonna enjoy it. So I'm hoping that my love for the previous books don't influence, you know, my thoughts on this book specifically. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Meredith has to say about it. So this book basically follows Aurora. She has just gone through a really big breakup, and she's on a journey to, you know, kind of rediscover herself and also acceptance. She decides to travel back to this small town where she and her mother lived for a short period of time. She has really fond memories of this place and the people in it, and she just remembers really loving this place as a child and the time that she spent there with her mother before tragedy hit. And so, you know, she's traveling back there just to rediscover herself, basically. This book kind of features, you know, the typical sunshine, grumpy sunshine kind of a trope, but I wouldn't describe Aurora as you know, the typical sunshine character. She's definitely very motivated and positive, but she's not like sunshines and rainbows and unicorns, you know. She's pretty chill. I really enjoyed her as a main character. I don't want to give away, you know, the book, so I'm gonna let Meredith read it and kind of, you know, give us her thoughts on it. So yeah. Bye.
Hey Meredith, thank you so much for asking me to do this clip for you. So the book I have for you is Notes on an Execution by Dana Kukafa. Now, this is a book I thought I would probably enjoy, but I didn't realise how much I would enjoy this. This is a book I was thinking about way long after I finished it. So I'm not going to give you too much details because it's probably best if you go into this blindly, but this deals, I will say it deals a lot along the themes of the death penalty and essentially the victims of serious crimes. So, hope you enjoy.
Hey Meredith, it's Allie with All I Do Is Reads channel, and I've read a lot of great books this year that I think you would love, but today I'm going to suggest Out There by Kate Folk. These are short stories that are somewhat sci-fi. They're not too out there, but they are weird, okay? They're really strange, but they're also really fun because of that, and they go really quick. I definitely want to know what your favorite of the bunch is, so keep that in mind. But for some reason, if you can't get your hands on this, then I kind of want you to read The Bodyguard by Catherine Senner. Now, I know I hated this, but hear me out. A lot of people have given this 5 stars, and I cannot remember why I hated it so much. I do remember having fun the entire time. So this one is kind of up to you. Whichever one you think is more up your alley, which, ew, I hate that expression, or whichever one you think you'll enjoy more. I definitely want your opinion on both of these at some point, but this one's up for you. So happy Vlogmas, and thank you for including me in this.
Hi, I'm Daphne from the Booktube channel Being Daphne. Thank you, Meredith, for inviting me onto this Booktube Vlogmas video you're doing. The recommendation I want to give you is Longshot by Kennedy Ryan. I'm mainly a romance reader, so I definitely wanted to recommend you a romance book. This one, if you don't know, is about like these NBA basketball players and their love interests. This first one is intense. Like, it brings so much to the table. There are obviously romance aspects, wrong time, wrong place kind of situation, and also like thriller aspects when it comes to other romantic partners in the story that we're not rooting for. We don't like them. Yeah, so definitely trigger warnings for like domestic violence that's on page. But if you want to skip kind of the scary triggers, you can go into book 2, which is Longshot. That one is less thriller-like, less triggering than the first one, even though the first one I would highly recommend. I gave it 5 stars. The second one I also gave 5 stars, so they're solid picks either way. The second book is about NBA like sports agent characters, and there's like mid-size to plus-size rep with our heroine. I love the series overall. I love Kennedy Ryan's writing. I can't wait to read more of her books. There's a great diversity in these stories as well, which is a plus. And yeah, I would highly recommend them, and I hope you enjoy if you choose them. So thanks again for inviting me onto this video, and I'll catch you later. Bye.
Hi guys, this is Eliza. I'm from Eliza's Bookshelf, and Meredith asked for one book that I would recommend. And for that, I would recommend The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. I love it so much that I have 2 editions, and that I have the paperback coming in December, and I put in a pre-order for her little cardies and stuff like that. But basically, Stardust Thief is about a midnight merchant who collects relics and sells them for a living, and her bodyguard Jin getting swept into this mission with a prince and also one of his 40 thieves. They get sent by the Sultan to basically find this magical relic for him, and through that journey you find more about the Jin history, about what happened in the past, and you find more about each characters and what they're up to, and everyone's scheming. But I love it because it brings these 4 people together, and it's like found family of sorts. But basically there's a lot of backstabbing, there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's a smidge of romance in there, and that's why I love it so much. This is #1 in the Sandsea trilogy. So there's 2 books that we still have to wait for, and the Ashfire King comes out next year, but I am so excited and I hope you guys read this one.
Hoi iedereen, my name is Lotta and I'm so excited to be here. Meredith, thank you so much for inviting me. I feel honored. But before I share with you one of my favorite books, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Lotta, I'm 27 years old and I live in the Netherlands. So yes, English is not my first language, but I'm really trying. Over at my channel I do reading vlogs, I do reading sprints, I do TBRs, I do a lot of different things. The genres I mostly read are fantasy, romance and smut, but I also like to dip my toes in other genres. So yeah, you can expect just about anything. So let me tell you about my recommendation. To be honest, it was really hard to pick just one book, but I managed. And I'm so happy to tell you about the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. This is one of my favorite books of this year. It is 5 books in one actually. But if you buy the book, I think you can only get the full package. But once you start reading one book, you immediately want to read the next. So yeah, that's only logical. But let me tell you about this book. This book is about a female serial killer who falls in love with an FBI agent. And it now happens to be that the FBI agent is on her case. But the female serial killer isn't just your typical serial killer. Of course not. There was a very terrible, tragic night that happened a long time ago that made her into a serial killer. And with every book you discover a little bit more about that night, and let me just say, it is horrific. And there were a lot of gruesome things in this book, so I do recommend you check out the trigger warnings before you start reading this book, because I just want you to have an amazing time when you read this one. So thank you so much for listening to me, and maybe I'll see you over at my channel. Doei!
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie from El Grey Books and I'm here to give you my recommendation. I had a little bit of a hard time deciding which one to share with you. I had a couple that I kind of shortlisted, but I decided to go with Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borison. This is the first book in a contemporary romance series. So like with most romance series, each book follows a different couple. Like I said, this is book 1 and it follows Stella and Luca. Stella owns a Christmas tree farm called Lovelight Farms, and it's just a really cute, adorable, it's, I wouldn't say necessarily a Christmas holiday-ish romance. There is a little bit of a Christmas element to it, but it's really about their relationship and also about the farm and all the different people in this small little town, and it's just really cute and adorable. So it's definitely something that you can read even when it's not Christmas, but it's especially great for this time of year as well. The whole series is just really fantastic and really wholesome and sweet, but it also is a little bit smutty, but it's filled with these incredible characters and they feel really lifelike, and I really loved this. Not to promote anything else on Meredith's channel, but if you participated in Indie Accords, I did recommend this as one of my books for that. And I know a couple of our lovely usual Australian live show friends read this one then and really enjoyed it. So I feel confident in recommending it, that if you're into contemporary romance or holiday romance or just Christmas and you want something nice and fun to read, then I definitely recommend this one. So I just wanted to say thank you to Meredith for letting me join in, and hopefully I'm not the last person to get my video in. Sorry if I am, but hopefully not. But I thought that I would just throw in some footage of the cats, because I know that you are also a cat lover, Meredith, and they were looking really cute today. So you don't have to put this bit in your video if you don't like, but cats, here they are.
Hi, so I went back and forth a lot with what book I wanted to recommend because I love to give very personalized book recommendations, but I struggle with sort of more general ones. So I'm going to tell you about the book I'd recommend to myself if I hadn't already pre-ordered, read, and loved it, and that is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is maybe me recommending it to myself to do a reread as a treat. The story is told in alternating chapters between Mary in the present after her wife has come home after a mysterious deep sea expedition that went catastrophically wrong, and her wife Leah in the past during the expedition. It's very strange and very beautiful and very creepy, and that's why it's my #1 book of 2022.
Yeah, my name is Kushi Kishore and I'm a booktuber under the channel name Kushi Kishore. Very original, I'm aware. I'm so excited that I was given the opportunity to do this because I have books I have really loved this year. And to be fair, it was really hard choosing just one to recommend to you guys, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. Now see, this is the book that was one of the easiest 5 stars this year. And this was a book that just lives rent-free in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. So I'm gonna try and pitch it to you a little bit here. So the way I pitched it to you guys in my reading vlog for this book was that I wanna flabbergast you. I wanna depress you. I want to make you feel all sorts of intense feelings. I want to make you reflect. I want to transport you to a completely different time, to a completely different place. I want you to see Vietnam and feel Vietnamese culture. I want you to read Unearth. God, it's the other way around, sorry. I want you to read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. We had a little bit of a hiccup there, but trust me, this book is so worth it. I read it around April, and so many months down the line, I am still struggling to put into words what exactly this book made me feel. Here are the things I can tell you. The writing is beautiful. The pictures it creates, the images it creates in your mind, absolutely stunning. It's also just so gut-wrenching at certain points. It's wonderful. If you don't know what this book is about, I can quickly tell you. A boy writes a letter to his mother. He's in his late 20s now, but this letter is essentially him telling her how he saw his childhood growing up. Moments from his childhood, how he saw her and how her actions affected him. How he fell in love for the first time, how he explored his sexuality. It tells us about Vietnam and the lasting impacts of war, and how something like that, even if you haven't experienced it as a generation, it's passed down. If your grandparents have had to experience something like that, it will eventually come down to you. Trauma like that, it passes down from generation to generation. It's basically just a doorway into his mind for all these different moments of his life, like childhood, growing up as a teen. And it was just so beautiful. It was really beautiful. It was such a wonderful read and one of the best I've had so far. I don't think I can compare this book to anything else at the moment. So yeah, that was my marketing pitch. I just want more people to read it. I just want more people to be excited about it. It's such a wonderful book. So many people already love it, and I'm just gonna keep spreading that love. But yeah, I love this book and I highly recommend it.
Hi Meredith, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this video and to choose a book for you. I am going to basically just reiterate what I said in my recent video recommending books to other booktubers, and I'm going to get you to read The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This is a book that I read earlier this year and I really enjoyed it. I think it's sort of in between young adult and adult, and it follows January, who is the ward to someone who is sort of in charge of this secret society where they go around and collect, what's the word I'm looking for? They go around and collect antiquities, and January's father works for the person as well. And there's a whole bunch of mystery around January's father and around her mother, and she sort of starts to figure out that there's more going on than what she's been brought up to believe, and yeah, she finds out some stuff to do with portals into other worlds and different things like that. And I really enjoyed it. There is a romance. It's not an important part of the plot, but there is a fun little romance in there as well, which is something I know you enjoy. So yeah, I just think that you would have a good time with it, and I really hope you enjoy it. So yeah, thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dennis, and I have a channel on YouTube called Dennis on YouTube where I talk about the books I read. I do a lot of videos surmising the plot of a lot of books and talking about my feelings on them. I do some book tags, and I also do a lot of streams, mostly video game streams, because I don't stream a lot of reading, which I probably should do. But Meredith asked me to talk about my favorite book that I have read this year, and I have read, I believe, about 114 books just this year, which is kind of crazy. But my favorite book, or maybe books, would have to be Tweak by Nick Sheff and Beautiful Boy by his father, David Sheff. These two books tell the two perspectives of Nick Sheff's addiction to methamphetamine and, you know, the family point of view in Beautiful Boy and his struggle with addiction and how it started and the whole journey to recovery. There's a lot of ups and downs, and it's never really pretty, and I feel like this topic isn't explored as much as I feel like it can be, because everyone has their own relationship with addiction and experience with addiction, and it's a topic that I didn't know a lot about before reading those two books, and I found it very interesting and very important to be able to read about those stories. So while it isn't the most happiest and lighthearted of books to read, I still think they were really great books. If you're looking for maybe not so much of a downer book, still not a very happy book, but I also read Verity by Colleen Hoover. Very unexpected that I would enjoy it as much as I did, but it was quite thrilling. It's about an author who gets picked up to finish writing a series by an author who is like disabled and can't finish writing her books anymore. So the author like moves into the house of the disabled woman and her husband and their son, and like there's a bunch of like things that she finds out about the author by reading her like unpublished autobiography that only she knows about. But it's insane. It is a thriller. It is quite great. If you were to read any Colleen Hoover book, I would recommend that one. No others. That single one. But yeah, those were a few of the books that I enjoyed reading. Again, my name is Dennis. I have a channel called Dennis on YouTube. If you would like to check me out, that would be so great. But if not, make sure you subscribe to Meredith if you haven't already. Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm Bianca, and my tiny little booktube channel and community is called My Bookworm Sanctuary. And Meredith was kind enough to reach out to me to recommend a book to you that I've read this year. I guess just really quickly, a tiny bit about me. I read romance. My channel is still pretty new. We've just hit a year old, so that's exciting. And yeah, I basically just read a heap of romance. I'm not a huge fan of contemporary. Sorry, Kermit has died in my throat. And yeah, I just wanted to recommend you a book that I've read this year. Now, it's been very hard for me to pinpoint one book for you, so I'm going to give you two series. don't think that's what Meredith had in mind, but it's what we're going to do. So, books I've read this year. So, really quickly, I wanted to recommend, pardon me, Mail series, Dinosaur Shifters, the Relic series. I wanted to quickly recommend these. So, Smash and Grab, Sink or Swim, King and Queen, and Lost in Amber. So these are just really quick male dinosaur shifter romances. Basically a group of dinosaur shifters are part of this group called Relic, and they rescue fossils and things like that from black market people who are dealing with all the bones and crap. Basically, I really love this series. It's really funny, really quick, male, absolutely adored it. Discovered it this year, just, yeah. Plus the covers are really cute too. And then I wanted to quickly mention as well another series called Dark Side series. I've got them in bind-ups. So the first and second, third and fourth books are 4 Psychos, 3 Trials, 2 Kingdoms and 1 Apocalypse. Basically, she's a ghost entity who has no idea who she is. She hangs around these guys like a bad smell. They're not aware she's around until she saves their lives. And basically, these guys are trying to figure out who they are. And they're involved a bit with the underworld. And she has no clue what these dudes are, but she does know that she's extremely attracted to them. This series is freaking hilarious. I picked it up for the first time this year. I absolutely adore it. It was fantastic. 4 books, really quick. They're only about 200 pages each. It's reverse harem. I'm not sure I mentioned that. Can't remember if there's any triggers in this. I don't think there is. But just be aware just in case. And yeah, I really love this series. So that was really quickly some books that I read this year that I really enjoyed. Yeah, like I said, it was really hard for me to try to pinpoint down a couple of books for you. So that's why we had a couple of series that I didn't explain very well. But thank you very much, Meredith, for reaching out to me. You're a legend. You're awesome. My channel is extremely tiny. So for you to think of me, I really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch us. Bye.
Hello, Ware. I hope you're having a lovely Vlogmas. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Aaliyah. I have a booktube channel called The Library Dweller where we read books and do fun reading vlogs where we go on adventures through the woods and do some baking and crafting and cooking and all that kind of stuff. So, Mare, I have 2 books to recommend to you. I know you only asked for 1, but I thought I would give you 2 just so that you have some options and you can choose whichever one you're more in the mood for. So the first one I want to recommend is called In the Beautiful Country, and this is a middle grade novel written in verse. It's about this young girl who moves with her family from Vietnam to America, and it's basically about their struggles in America, and it's about our main character going to school, and she gets teased by some of these kids because she doesn't have the right clothes, and she's bringing Asian food for lunch, and they don't know what it is, and they think it's gross, and it's about how her family used all of their savings to buy this restaurant in the US, and the restaurant's not doing very well, and our main character is used to having like a nice house and all these nice things, and now in America she doesn't have that because her family is really struggling and they're trying to learn English, and it's just about all the hardships that they go through, but it ends up being really hopeful and beautiful, and I thought this was a really impactful, lovely story, and I thought I would recommend this to you because it's one that I think is really underrated, and I haven't really heard very many people talking about this, and it's definitely one of my favorite books I've read this year. And then I also wanted to recommend you a short story collection, and this one's called What We Fed to the Manticore. I know this is one that you mentioned in the comments of one of my videos you were interested in this, so I thought that I would give you the shot to read it if you still want to. So this is a debut collection that explores themes of environmentalism, conservation, identity, belonging, loss, and family, and it's also really tender. And this is a collection of stories that's told from the perspective of different animals. So each story is about a different animal and their life, and they're kind of talking about like their relationship with humans, and a lot of them are able to talk to humans as well. And so it's kind of about like human-animal connection, and it's also about war and loss, and a lot of these are really sad. I did not recommend you happy books, but I did recommend you emotionally impactful books that have really important themes. So there's that. So thank you again for letting me be a part of your reading challenge, and I hope you have a lovely Vlogmas, and I will see you later. Bye!
Hi, I'm Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots, and Meredith asked me to give you a recommendation for a book that I cannot get enough of, for a book that has almost completely changed my life, and one that I genuinely do think that everyone out there should read. If I stop talking about Rachel's Holiday by Marion Keyes, I'm either asleep or dead. I first read this in maybe 2019, I want to say. I was definitely living in Germany at the time, but this book isn't necessarily Rachel going on holiday, as the title might suggest. It's actually Rachel checking into rehab after having a drug overdose. She's living in New York. She grew up in Ireland, but is living in New York and is living quite a kind of high octane life. She's drug fueled, alcohol fueled, parties every single night until 6 a.m, sleeps until 7 and goes out to work. It might sound like it's a very kind of difficult topic to read about, but it is written with so much trust and respect and care, and it also comes from the area that this is something that Marion has also encountered in her life. Marion herself had problems with alcohol addiction, and this is something that you can tell shines through the pages. It's definitely something that is really personal to Marion without sounding preachy. And while it might also deal with alcohol addiction and with drug addiction and with drug abuse, there are also a lot of other quite heavy topics dotted throughout this book. There are discussions of discovering your sexuality later in life. There are discussions of gambling addiction, of spending addiction, and all of these are treated just as fairly, just as respectfully as Rachel's issues. The sequel to this, Again Rachel, came out in January of 2022. I inhaled Again Rachel. I think I finished it within maybe 3 hours, which is almost a record for me. So if you have read this and that you're really enjoying it, then Again Rachel is another really great port of call. Rachel is one of also 5 sisters who all have their own separate books, their own separate lives, their own separate issues to deal with. But if you are going to start with Marion and you don't know where to go first, I can't recommend this more.
Hi Meredith, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your video. I am Ashley, which is Ashley's Media Addiction. And so yeah, I have actually chosen a book recommendation for you as you requested. But instead of one book, I'm going to basically just choose a series, to be honest. You'll see why. So the first book in the series is The Inheritance Games. This is really no surprise if you know my channel. I adored this book. I gave it 5 stars, and I also gave The Hawthorne Legacy 5 stars, and I do have The Final Gambit, but I've not read that one yet, but I'm expecting it to be another 5 stars. This is basically about this woman called Avery, who out of nowhere is told that she can get an inheritance of this huge estate and all the money as long as she stays in a house for a year with the person's family. Now, she doesn't know them at all, and there's a lot of clues and things about what's kind of happened and why he's actually given this money to Avery. And we're not really sure who to trust in the household who wants money for themselves. We're not really sure who is kind of trying to threaten Avery. We're not really sure of anything, and it's just such a good mystery, and I honestly just adored it. The chapters are really short as well, so it's just so easy to fly through. I think I read through it in like a day, which for me is a really big deal because I usually take my time with books. But I just devoured this. The second book as well is amazing. It's a really good continuation on, and really continues on from the first book in the same sort of direction with more games, more riddles, and it's just so much fun. So yeah, I'm going to recommend these. You're probably not surprised at all, and yeah, I really hope you do enjoy them if you do pick them up. These are generally one of my favourite series, and I'll be surprised if it's not a favourite. I'll be surprised if it isn't a favourite series of just forever, to be honest. I loved it. I really hope you do. And again, thank you for letting me be a part of your video. Bye.
Wow, I feel like nobody's gonna make it this far through the video, so if you did, thank you. I put myself last just because I feel like I'm the least likely person to get seen, so I've put myself last. So you're back to me for my random recommendation. So my random recommendation is Born Into This by Adam Thompson. So I decided to recommend this because this is a local author for me. I'm from Tasmania and this author is from Tasmania, and they are, ooh, I nearly dropped it. They are an Indigenous Australian author. I just really wanted to, you know, put this book out there. So this is a short story collection. They're not really interconnected in any way. They're just random moments or scenes that this author is capturing, and a lot of them have very striking imagery or a very striking moment in the story, and it made all of these really stand out. Like, there's so many in these that I think about and remember, whereas I feel like in short story collections normally some sort of get forgotten or pushed to the back, or there's some that let the story collection overall down. But I feel like every single story in this was striking and poignant and important and saying something, and it felt like every single story had been given so much time and craft, and it felt like every single one of these deserved to be read. Like, it was just a fantastic collection for me. I always tab my favorites in collections, and as you can see, I pretty much tab like almost every single one. So I've got problems. My favorite was, I believe it was the second one. Yeah, Honey. That was my favorite. This is my recommendation, this short story collection. I really hope that you all give it a go and pick it up. I think that it's very well written, it's very interesting, and again, all the stories kind of stand out, have a point, have something they want to put across, and again, they all have just this moment, or this even just this sentence that you're just like, bitch. So thank you so much. If I don't normally say this, but if you made it this far through the video, put a like honey or bee emoji, because I will be shocked if anyone made it this far through this video. But yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this, just seeing a bunch of recommendations. I hope you found some new channels. Definitely comment down below. I'd love to start lots of discussions. If you want to talk about any of the books here, that would be awesome. Let us know what you're going to pick up. Let us know if you've subscribed to any of these channels. Let's just chat. And yeah, again, thank you to everybody who contributed to this video. I think it's just ended up being amazing. The support, the community, the way that the community came together for this is just really, really lovely. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Bye!
Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas.